It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Brouhaha. Kind of a special day here on the Brouhaha. Dale, you know what day it is?
Somebody told me it's Valentine's. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. You're on the spot.
There you go.
I mean, man, you got her done.
Is that important?
It is to me.
Is it?
It is to me.
Because you're going to get gifts, aren't you?
Well, I'm going to give some.
You're going to give a gift?
Yeah.
Don't give them gifts that keep on giving, right?
That's right. That's right. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you if you'll be mine. I'm good on that department. But anyway.
We are connected.
That's right.
Whether we want to be or not.
That's right. We're family. Big week, man. You know, Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
The NFL season has come to a close with a pretty doggone good football game.
I thought it was an outstanding football game. I really did. It was, there were some mistakes made in it, which always really, I don't say it changes the game, but it makes the game more interesting, I thought, the Chiefs kind of dominated that last maybe 20 minutes of the ball game.
They really did.
I mean, they really did. The Eagles, I thought they dominated the first half.
When they didn't sack him, but they tackled Mahomes there at the end of the first half. Mm-hmm. He's got that high ankle sprain, and when I saw his face, I tell you what, either he's one of the toughest men in the world, or I'd like to have some of what they put in his foot before he played that second half.
But you think about that, when you give somebody something, some kind of medicine, how's it affect them? I mean, really what amazed me about it is I'd like to talk to people that are on their training staff and say, what are you doing for this fella to get him back so much? Because you would think, I'm just sitting there just as a fan and saying, well, he's not going to be able to run second half, so that's going to be an advantage for the Eagles.
Yeah.
But then he takes off on a couple runs.
Man, the game sealer, so to speak.
And even slid into third base one time,
Yeah.
And so he just, he's a good player, but I thought Jalen Hurts played excellent.
Yeah.
I think they're both great young quarterbacks, and I think that if you look at Jalen 4 years ago, he gets benched in the national championship game, and he played as well as I've ever seen him in Sunday's game.
He had a good day. He really did. I'm proud for him. I know he'd like that to win, but two great young quarterbacks, two great franchises and teams, and it was a pleasure to watch. I really enjoyed it. Sometimes I felt like I was watching a Mississippi High School All-Star football game.
You did?
Yeah, I looked up and there goes Gay, there goes Jones, there goes Fletcher Cox, there goes it's all over the dadgum place, these Mississippi kids. I was proud. That made me Mississippi proud.
And they all contributed very well.
Big time. Big time.
Very well.
Big time. Well, I guess the Pro Bowl's out of the way with that new format they had.
Well, let's don't talk about that.
I
don't like that. but our guest last week, if you remember, he told us that they did it because they were just they added that extra game to regular season and things like that.
Yeah.
So now the next big thing we got to look forward to in NFL football, if you followed it, is the. Help me out now.
I can't. I'm on medication.
It's called. Oh, really?
Big time. You see this? Anyway, never mind.
It's called the Pro Draft.
Oh, the draft.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where they get to pick the players they want.
Yeah.
When is that?
I don't know, but the Chicago Bears right now are supposed to go first. I'm interested in what the Saints are going to do.
Oh, yeah?
Saints going to trade for a quarterback? I know they're going to trade for the boy in Las Vegas, or what they're going to do, because they evidently need a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, they may get Justin Fields, because I heard where he said that if the Bears picked a quarterback, he's out of there. So,
Yeah. Well, I'd rather. I think right now I'd rather have the guy in Vegas. I don't mind running quarterbacks, but one play can put them. Of course, passing too. But it just seems like, as you watch the game yesterday, passing's got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Passing, because I really thought the Chiefs, they just kind of ate up the Eagles secondary, because the Eagles secondary was in that man-to-man, and they just couldn't stop them, really, because one thing about the Chiefs receivers were getting open on their own. I mean, they'd go down there and make a little fake here, a little fake there, and boom, they're open. But I thought the Eagles, the Eagles tight end played a great game for them.
Yeah.
And everything. And A.J. Brown had a good ball game.
He did, had him a touchdown. A storyline that I really enjoyed about that game was I called it the Kelsey Bowl. Mm-hmm. Center for the Eagles and the tight end for the Chiefs brothers. Mm-hmm. And one of them's a couple of years older than the other one. The Eagle was a little older, but those guys have got a podcast, and I listen to them from time to time, and they're really good. They're smart guys, and I saw Travis, that's the tight end for the Chiefs, looking across the field toward the end of the game. I told my wife, I said, looking for his brother. That was special. But, that had to be a real bittersweet thing for both of those guys. They're extremely close. And can you imagine, the elation? And it was obvious in Travis in the post-game comments. I mean, he was crunk and fired up now, and rightfully so. But, there's got to be a mixed blessing in there, because they love each other. They understand. I know he understands the pain that his brother's in. But, he had his wife and an OB and everybody else up there in the stands, he said, for the game, just in case she delivered during the game. So, he had a lot going on, but what a great storyline that was.
Amen.
Speaking of storylines, who we got tonight? Who you round up?
We got a former college baseball coach named Hill Denson. You ever heard that name?
Hall of Famer.
Really?
I think so.
I didn't know that.
Mississippi, y'all know that. You run the Mississippi Hall of Fame, don't you?
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Isn't he in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame?
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm. But you may not know this.
I probably don't. Go ahead. I'll stipulate to that now.
He's in 7 different Hall of Fames.
Oh, wow. So I could just throw a dart at the wall and I couldn't miss.
I'll throw that out to you. Okay.
Hill Denson.
Yes, sir.
I guess most people know him through the University of Southern Mississippi, but there's more to the Denson story than that.
Yeah, he started out a high school baseball coach in Port Gibson, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. Then went to Jackson, Callaway, helped coach football, and they won a state championship back in the 70s. They had a quarterback named Roy Coleman. Coleman went to Callaway, and they had a big fullback named Napoleon Gentry.
Man, what a great name for a fullback.
And Coleman ended up going to Ole Miss and playing a little quarterback for them and DB and wide receiver. But he was one of the assistants on that staff that won the state, and so he's got a lot of. He's going to talk baseball with us.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to that because baseball is underway. So let's take a break there from our sponsors, and Dale and I'll be back with tonight's guest, Hill Denson, right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Hill Denson. How you doing today, Coach?
Great, Dale. How you guys doing over there?
We are doing outstanding. We want to talk a little sports with you tonight. We're going to mostly major in college baseball, a little high school baseball, but just tell me.
Ready to roll.
Okay.
Ready to roll this week. So.
Yeah. That's why we have you on the show. We wanted a baseball expert, so we figured that you probably knew more than most of us had forgot. So. Anyway,
I don't know about all that, but I certainly don't know that I'm an expert, but we'll be glad to talk.
There you go. All right. Well, your record shows me that you are an expert. But anyway, tell us about just what were your thoughts about the Super Bowl? Did you watch it yesterday?
I did. I watched every minute of it. It was a great football game, and just the way I wanted. I had about 10 opportunities to go to parties and crawfish balls and everything else, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see that ball game.
Well, that was
because I like both of them. Of course, I like to see good athletes play, and that was absolutely a good ball game.
Well, we had a lot of Mississippi flavor to it yesterday, and did you ever? I know you've been in baseball a long time. Did you ever know or watch Patrick Mahomes' dad play baseball?
I did not. We actually did recruit a Mahomes, but I don't think that's the same Mahomes. There was one that played at Mississippi State too. I don't know if they can or what. He's the one I think I recruited. I'd tell you the truth, but I do remember recruiting a Mahomes back years ago when I was at USM. But that's about all I remember about it.
I got you.
I didn't. They wouldn't let me out of the office to go out and see him, but my recruiters were out talking to him, Mahomes. I remember that. But I'd love to introduce him, but it probably was not.
Well, listen, we're going to start out with a little baseball. As far as the college game, we'll start on that first. First of all, okay. I know you're on the NCAA baseball committee, and I know you went to Little Rock last year, and you didn't really get to see the Southern Ole Miss series down in Hattiesburg. But tell me about your thoughts, first of all, on the Ole Miss run and the USM run. Just give us your thoughts about last year, both of the way they played baseball.
Okay, great. I was actually in Stillwater, Oklahoma, at Oklahoma State last year at Little Rock, but I never know where they're sending me. I've been doing that about 28 years or something like that, and I go somewhere different every year. I've been there from coast to coast and all around, but they won't let me go to Southern Miss. Obviously now they used to. I've had Southern Miss in tournaments before. Actually, I had them over at Georgia Tech when they won that regional land, went on to Florida, and went to the World Series that year. But somebody must have complained somewhere, and they've quit doing that. If you're affiliated with a school of some sort, then you can't go there. And that was this year. I was lucky in running the tournament at Stillwater. I was able to kind of stay up there in a box and see a little bit, watch the ball games and watch our games at Southern Miss and keep up with what was going on down there. And at the same time, I knew Mike had beaten Miami that first game, and I knew what that meant. It meant if Miami lost if they lost and didn't win their regional down there, then they weren't going to get to host, and that would mean it would go to the other team they matched with, which was Southern Miss. So obviously I was keeping up closely the whole time up there, probably more than I should have been. I probably should have been paying a little more attention to the regional there in Stillwater, but I was keeping up with having a TV up there where I could see things. And, I knew it was going to happen if Mike and won, so I was pulling really hard. First of all, Mike Bianco and I are close friends, and of course Scott Bear and I have been forever and ever, and are really close. So both of them outstanding fellows, outstanding people, outstanding friends, outstanding coaches, and I was pulling for them both all the way, and hoping that was going to happen, and it did. And absolutely, the first thing I did Monday morning when I was leaving Stillwater, going to the airport at 6 a.m., I texted the people in NCAA and saying, pulling my head out of going to a super regional because I knew they wouldn't let me go to that one. And they actually call us NCAA reps. Back years ago, we used to be called the tournament directors, but we're NCAA reps now. And so I put my name out the hat so I could go down and watch the super regional there. And seeing both teams and knowing what was happening with both teams, and see other teams around the country. Can't remember who all I had in the tournament last year, but I had Arkansas and Oklahoma State and some out of Southwest Missouri. I had some good ball clubs, but I knew that we both had a outstanding ball club, and if either one of us got hot, then there's a chance of certainly going in and winning it. You got to be hot and you got to be lucky. to once you get there, because everybody else is good too. And I honestly feel like if Southern Miss had beaten Ole Miss there, they might have done the same thing Ole Miss did. Just depends on how hot and if they got a break or two at the right time. And that's what happened with Ole Miss. And nobody pulled any harder for Ole Miss as much as I pulled against Ole Miss all my life. Nobody was pulling any harder for that during the World Series for Mike and Ole Miss guys up there, and hoping that they got hot and things happened, and they just fell just right for them, and they won it. So I had been so tired all year of hearing Ole Miss friends of mine or just overhearing what they're saying and to people talking about they want to get rid of Mike Bianco, and I said it 2 or 3 different times on the radio broadcast during the year. You folks out there that are talking about wanting to get Mike Bianco would be just as stupid as Southern Miss getting rid of Jeff Bauer when they did several years ago. And you can see what's happened down there since that happened. So, I really felt that way. And Mike Bianco is a great, great coach, hard place. He's in a tough league. It's hard to win. It's hard to win it year in and year out. And they do that. And he's just a great coach. But they went through a bad time last year. But what happens with baseball fans, college baseball fans in particular, they got to understand that baseball seasons are ups and downs all year. You kind of get hot a little while, things go your way, you get cold a little while, and it's just all up and down. And of course, you hope everything's peaking at the end of the year. And that's exactly what happened with Ole Miss. They went through that rough streak during the middle of the year, and people were hollering, "Won't get rid of the coach," like he was out there making those errors and everything. So whatever that was happening. So, you got to understand that happens, and whoever wins that thing this year, it'll be the same thing. They'll be hot. They'll get hot in the tournament, and things will go their way, and and they might have a bad year going down through the middle of the year or whatever. The whole year they have a bad year, and all of a sudden get hot, and with some guys step forward and do a good job pitching and that sort of thing. So that's the way it works. So just to say it kind of elementary like, that's the way it works.
When you were recruiting at Southern Miss, how do you recruit when you've got, I assume, 30-something players on the team, but you only have 11 scholarships? Do you go out and fill your team up with certain positions?
It's really tough. You just have to figure out ways and hope the guys will want to come play for you. And the one good thing that you have is there are an awful lot of good players out there and not enough places for them, especially with limited scholarships like that. And the NCAA is actually out right now, there's such a joke right now what's happening where you're out there paying guys to come play some sports in college, and yet the baseball players and there are a few other sports that are what they call the equivalency sports don't even have full scholarships. And the things that are going on right now are absolutely absurd what's happening. And, it's going to backfire somehow. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it's ridiculous. And baseball still doesn't have but 11.7 scholarships, and they have a 35-man roster. And by the way, we're the only sport that's limited to a roster number. And we only can have 35 active players on scholarship or walk-on. So, it's just not a very, very correct situation, what's happening. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah, we understand. I mean, there are limitations there. But, since you're limited, I mean, do you go out and just sign pitchers and shortstops or center fielders, or what do you have to do?
Well, when I stepped out and you know, turned it over to Corky, and Scott took over and so forth. You know, I made the statement I remember making this call, and he said he always remembers that. He said, I said, you can't, with such limited access, you can't seem to ever get enough of one thing or the other, enough hitters or enough pitchers. You can't get enough unless you just really buck in. Don't get anybody hurt or, you know, that sort of thing. It's hard to get enough of, you don't have much bench strength anywhere, you know. And so, of course, obviously there are teams that are better than others and have a reputation. Back when we started in '84, there were about 10 teams in the country that cared one thing about college baseball. And things started to change about the same time I went to Southern Miss. Skip Buckman went to LSU. We went the same year. You know, it started taking off that people started trying to have better baseball programs and try to win and try to draw crowds and all that kind of stuff. It certainly can be done. Don't tell me that baseball is a non-revenue sport. That word always chapped my rear end to hear that all the time. It's a non-revenue sport. Non-revenue sport the way it's treated in college, but and also the time of year we're trying to play it. But you know, it's hard to make it all work, but everybody else has got the same problem, so that's one good thing. You know, it's you know, just hoping players will want to be involved with you.
Well, listen, say Ole Miss and State right now, Ole Miss and State compared to USM. It seems like Ole Miss and State have more kids nationally. Is that just an SEC thing? Because Southern Miss seems to have more Mississippi kids, you know?
I didn't hear what you said, but State
okay. All right. Okay. Like Ole Miss and State right now, they seem to be recruiting on a national stage. You know, they'll go anywhere to sign. It seems like, except for a few players, Southern Miss gets most of their players from this region down here. You know, maybe the tip of Louisiana, or most of them are from Mississippi now. Is that
well?
What causes that? I guess.
You know, it's just philosophy, what you want to do. You know, we got an awful lot of great players right around the state, and this COVID stuff and all that has thrown everything out of whack, and it's not enough scholarships, not enough places on teams for players that want to play. And, you know, I don't really think that. I've always thought we recruited nationally at Southern Miss too. So, but we also like to get the local kids around, and you know, I think parents are coming, and cousins are coming, and friends are coming, and we've been in that business since about '84. We've started trying to make it a deal where people want to come to the game, and I know one of my objectives when I started out there at Southern Miss was to make it a situation where people even cared whether we won or not. And by the time I left, they were cared. If we wouldn't lose the game, they were really cared. So, you know, but that's the way, you know, that's the way, that was one of my main objectives when I started, was to make it where people cared.
Well, you know, you know, we've had conversations before, and you were telling me one time, basically when you started out, it was just kind of family members and girlfriends in the stands, and by the time you ended, you were actually charging to get into ball games, you know. So, you know, you had a great run there, and of course, you know, you still get credit for kind of starting the program back to like you say, starting the program back, but getting the program into a new era, basically. And you were the one that created the right field roost, isn't that right? Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right. We did. The staff did, and Doug and Charlie, our coaching staff, we did it, and that's what we wanted to happen when we went there, and basically copying what State had done over the years with their left field lounge, except we did it in a different way rather than leaving stuff out there. You drove in and drove out. But, that was part of our deal that we're trying to do, and it's the most sought after thing now on the campus at Southern Miss. I've been told that many a time now that the day they go on sale, they sold. So, in fact, one almost never comes open for somebody else to buy. So they have waiting lists for it. So it's something that's gone over well, and it certainly wasn't all my thinking. It was more of a copycat type thing, but we had the perfect place to do it there. And now it's kind of icky because we need to expand the stadium and all that, and there's not much place to go. But anyhow, I love the way things are going down there now. Scott and Corky before him, but Corky was my assistant in State, and Scott came along. We've known each other for a long time, and they just kept it on rolling, and keep getting in there and doing the things it takes, and just building that reputation. And that was one of the hard things. That during my years there at Southern Miss, I never was able to beat Ron Polk on a recruit if he wanted them. I just couldn't do it because they were one of those 10 teams in the country that cared, and people had good. Mississippi State had good baseball before Ron Polk even. It was back in my high school days. They cared whether they won or not up there then. They were one of the only teams in the SEC that did. When Skip Berkeley went to LSU, they were people down there didn't care one thing about baseball, and they were just terrible baseball folks. And it was just a deal where we rolled out the balls and played a few games, and mostly were football players and basketball players that were already there. Same thing practice sort of this. And that was just the way it was going at that time, People were doing things. So I played for Pete, and Pete was a good baseball man, but it wasn't an important thing at the time for the university or for them when we were there. So it was just a kind of a play-like thing. Have a little fun, have a few games, and that was it, and nobody cared where you really won or lost. So.
Well, Coach, they care now, and I guarantee you. And you had a big role in that, making them care, and we're thankful for that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes. I'm kind of the clock keeper here, and I'm afraid to tell you that we're out of time for this segment of our show, but Dale and I and our listeners, thank you so much for taking time to be with us tonight, and we're going to ask you to hang on with us. We're going to break for a commercial, Coach, but will you hang on with us for just a minute?
I absolutely will.
Okay. We're going to take a break here from our sponsors, and then Dale and I will be back with the final segment of tonight's Brouhaha right after this commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody, to our final segment, as brief as it might be. Man, what a guy. Wrap this up for us, Dale. Let's talk about the history of the coaching over there at USM. And I mean, I sit there and I don't know nearly about this as much as you do, but as I look back, Pete Taylor Park, and then we talk about Hill Denson and Corky Palmer, and these guys, and Scott Berry. That goes back a long way.
That goes back about 70 years, Coach. And they've had Pete Taylor, Hill Denson, Corky Palmer, and Scott Berry.
That's crazy.
And Hill played for Pete, okay? And Corky played for Pete. And Scott coached under Corky up at Meridian Junior College. And just they all gel and they all think the same, so they all got the same philosophy going on for 70 years.
Man, that's a real program.
Yes, it is.
That's very unusual.
Yeah.
That's something to be proud of. And we got a lot to be proud of here in South Mississippi, folks. But now, it's come to the time of the show where it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale, and all you folks out there. I forgot to tell you that you can follow us on Facebook. Dale, you're trying to tell me something, Dale. What you trying to tell me? Tell the people.
Well, I just wanted to let you know that we need to tell all the ladies out there Happy Valentine's.
You lady killer, you.
Yes,
You're going
sir.
to get in trouble. All the ladies, not just one. Is that what you're saying?
Well, my wife doesn't listen.
Follow us on the Brouhaha on Facebook and on YouTube. But as Dale said, it's time to say goodbye. So we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.